Welcome back. An Eldorado Park learner in Gauteng was stabbed yesterday while the Gauteng legislature's Portfolio Committee on Community Safety was actually visiting. It's alleged the high school learner was stabbed by an intruder at the school. The intruder then fled the scene. Also, in the recent past, weapons have been found at that school. Dr Bandile Masuku is the chair of the Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio Committee. Dr Masuku, good evening to you and thank you for your time. We have so much evidence of violence in our schools. They are not the safe places that we want them to be. Where do you think we've gone wrong?
Good evening, Stephen, and good evening to your viewers, and thanks for having us on your show. I think one of the problems is just generally a societal issue which we need to deal with. So part of the oversight that we're doing it jointly with the Portfolio Committee on Education, because we started the oversight to do a focused intervention study around the enforcement of the safety regulations that the school safety regulations that have been actually adopted in the past. And we think that the problems usually emanate, or we know that they emanate from society, and also everything that happens in society does manifest itself in the school premises. And I think that's where our problem is. There is a general moral decay. The unemployment is a big problem. Poverty is a big issue. And in the area that we went to, gangsterism and drugs is a big problem in that space.
How do you think as a society we can turn back this moral decay?
We need a very broad approach. You know, we won't be able to just make schools safe, but we also need to approach it in a manner that will speak to the problems that we find in those communities. So in the areas like Westbury and Eldorado, the issue of gangsterism needs a particular focus, and it needs us to deal with it in a holistic way. The issue of socio-economic problems that we see are a bigger challenge, and they make things and our life difficult in terms of making our schools safe.
And Dr Masuku, I mean, other countries, other societies have this problem as well of trying to keep learners at school safe. And it can be difficult in the United States in some places. There are metal detectors, so children have to go through metal detectors. They're checking for guns there, often not knives. Do you think we need to do something similar? I mean, I don't like the idea of children having to be checked before they go into a school, and yet maybe children, once they're inside, will feel at least they're safe for the day.
It might not be a panacea of our problems. You know, that's the reason why I'm talking about a holistic approach, and we need to approach the issues that are affecting the communities and society to make sure that these matters are. I do agree with you. It is not very. It's not something that looks good when schools looks like prisons. You know, where schools are locked and schools have got metal detectors and also heavily armed, securities. So the part of the conversation that we want to have with the intervention study that we're engaging in, it's where we're going to engage with actual stakeholders just to make sure that maybe the community themselves must be part of resolving the problem, just to make sure that some of the things that happen in the communities don't have to come into, the schools. There's a bigger problem of gangsterism that we have seen. We have not only visited Eldorado, we did visit Westbury and some of the schools in Gauteng and Palm Springs. It's a different environment, but the issues, remain the same. They cut across the same, issue of poverty, unemployment, and lack of recreational facilities.
There's so much to all of this. I mean, as you say, and as I think the Basic Education Department often says, what's happening in schools is a reflection of what's happening in our society. And many people are very, very worried about this. Do we need more specialized police units to deal with gangs? Perhaps we need to start there in Gauteng now.
I think that's the right approach. That could be one of the interventions. When we interacted with some of the stakeholders and some experts that we spoke to in the World Police Summit that we attended earlier in the year, one of the interventions that in a community in Florida, they introduced a doctor corps system, which we do have. So the issue is how effective it is in our space. But we also do know that our South African Police Service, they are pretty much under-resourced in many aspects, and it means that the broader conversation must involve society, must involve the community. So the CPF, the Community Police Forum, might play a bigger role in this space, because at least they are not approaching policing or safety from the point of view of policemen and guns, but they also come up with interventions that are somehow acceptable and also not really much in terms of military approach.
Dr Bandile Masuku, thank you, the chair of the Gauteng Community Portfolio Committee on Community Safety.